Oh yeah, whenever you're ready, we can start. That's the background.
Are you going to play that? Or do you want to play it? Or
You want to play it?
I don't know. I mean,
I thought it's a nice backdrop for introductions.
You guys want to watch a video to start off? Really excited.
Let's start a video.
The Hazinka College of Business and Entrepreneurship is a great place to study. The curriculum and the programs are formed and informed by great business leaders and entrepreneurs like James Donnelly, who not only invest in the students but also invest their time in making certain that the programs will produce the kind of employees that will be successful. The new program in property management is their vision.
Can't find enough talent now to meet all of our needs, so we're super excited about having a property management program here in Florida. I think property management is the best kept secret. It's challenging, very interesting, you can't export what we do to India or China or another country. This is a service business. The buildings that we all manage, whether it's commercial, residential, institutional, and they'll be here 50 years from now, 100 years from now. So this is a business, if you're looking in this crazy world for a long-term, steady, consistent, increased employment, this is the business that you should get into.
The courses that we put into the program are specifically addressing a variety of different facets of the property management industry. Specifically, we look not only at residential property management, but also commercial property management, facilities management, as well as asset and property management. The program will also offer a number of internships for students, scholarships, as well as the opportunity to participate in case study competitions and other industry-focused activities. It's pretty much a guaranteed employment upon graduation from the program by virtue of the partnerships that we've already established with industry professionals.
The difference in property management is that the learning curve is so steep, and the speed that you can move your career to a really substantial management position is unbelievable. And in our firm, students 5 years out of college have real high responsibility jobs in our firm. If you are good in this business, you are going to have a substantial six-figure salary.
The opportunities that students have to learn and to grow and to challenge themselves, to be challenged by others, and to achieve their potential is what's most important to me. So I believe that if you're really serious about your career, really serious about making an impact on your community, that NSU is the place to be.
Alright, with that video demo, no further ado, I would like to give 2 more bites of introduction to James Donnelly, founder and CEO of the Castle Group. He's a CPA, general contractor, investor, short, he's a community leader. He's a 2014 inductee of the NSU Business College Hall of Fame. And again, community leader as well as education pioneer with this property management minor. That all said, welcome to the class, James. Thank you for your time and your presentation.
Thank you, Professor, and good evening, everybody. I had the honor last year of putting a class of this size to sleep fairly quickly, so we're going to try and improve on that. And Thomas has asked me to talk to you a bit about, obviously, property management, which I'm involved in, but also he wanted me to tell you a bit about my story, and for some reason he was more interested in my failures than my successes, and that's probably because all of you will have both in your career. And as I stand up before you today as a leader in our business and our community and successful, and you may think it's a straight line. Well, it's not, and I'll give you a few of those stories today. But I did want to start with why we did this program. You heard a bit about it there. So I'm the founder of the Castle Group, and we happen to manage residential property management, but as you already know, I think you've gone over all the different property types. There's commercial, industrial, facilities, institutional, all need property managers. And there's very little education in this country, let alone the state, on how to be good at this. So I came to your school president and said, look, I'd like to do this at NSU. He said, James, that's a great idea. If you fund it, we'll do it. So we ended up donating a fair amount of money to NSU to put this program together. Part of it was to get it organized, and part of it was we do have a lot of Castle Group scholarships out there. I don't know whether I have any recipients in the room, but I hope so. So that's why we did it, and we just can't find enough talent right now. In our firm right now, we have about 1,700 employees. We have 80 open positions. We have 80 positions that at this moment we can't fill. By the way, did anyone intern with us this year? Yeah, I thought I saw someone. What's your name again? Paul. Paul. So as part of our minor, we have internship programs, and Paul took advantage of it this summer. And so it really
Ask me, I'm the coordinator for internships.
Yeah, ask your professor. So that's really how we got involved. Here's what I want to do tonight. And what happened last year when I did this, we have 90 minutes before I think you have to write an exam or something, or a test. Something like that. I think we should have inverted this, but anyways. Maybe you'll get some of the answers from me today. So what happened last year is I talked for a little while, and then there was absolutely no questions, and then we literally filled up the last 90 minutes with questions because I think we kind of got, well, what would this mean to me? Could I do this? Would I be interested? So the only thing I would say differently tonight is, don't wait, ask a question at any time. I mean, the more interactive we can make this, the more you'll stay awake. So why property management minor? I told you a bit about that. I'll tell you some more stories. I think you'll be amused at that. And then, look, I know I have biology students, business students, all kinds of different students in the room. Even if this isn't the career you're looking for, I think it's good to know. And two, this isn't necessarily something you have to do full time. And three, you're going to own your own property someday, so it's all relevant, no matter where you land up. I think you've already gone over some of the types of property management out there. I'll explain some of the opportunities I see, and then some trends. I didn't think our industry could be so changed by some things that are happening. Part of which is, you guys aren't millennials. What's after millennials? What are you, Z's? Z's? Is that right? Yeah. Well, and you guys are going to even affect it more. And then Q&A. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, we covered that. So this is the most important thing you're going to learn tonight. I put it right up front. I call it the success formula. And I put it up front because I can tell you a few of my stories. Here's what's going to happen. You're sitting there at 18, 20, 22, 24 years old. I don't know how old you are. And you're thinking, first of all, you're going, WTF, what am I going to do with my life, right? But also, you may even have a plan. And I can tell you right now it's not going to work out that way, right? So you're going to come up with a plan, whatever it is. By the way, come up with a plan, right? Just don't go along your merry way. And then you can implement the plan, and it's not going to work out. And the key to success in life, and this isn't just about property management, this is about no matter what you do, this is my journey, is I implemented it, it didn't work out, or it did, or even if it did, I had a lot of learnings, and I evaluated it, and I made adjustments, and I re-implemented it. And I'm going to tell you some stories, but if you take nothing more away from tonight, whatever plan you come up with, it's not going to work out the way you thought. By the way, that's relationships, life, health, business, doesn't matter. But don't worry about it. Evaluate where you are, make some adjustments, redo it. If you keep doing this cycle, you have no choice but to succeed. It's just the way it works. So with that, I'll tell you a bit about my journey and some of my successes, and more entertainingly, my failures. But I grew up in a lower middle class family, 900 square foot home, 5 of us, 1 bathroom. I know that's not too common anymore. And I didn't like not having money. And so I remember at about 13 years old said, I'm going to be rich. I didn't know how I was going to be rich, but I was going to be rich. And I lived on, obviously a modest street, and there was one man on the street always had the nicest car. So I went to my dad, I said, Dad, why does Mr. Miller have the nicest car on the street? What does he do? And he goes, I don't know, why don't you go down? So 13 years old, I walked down the street and I knocked on the door and I said, Mr. Miller, what do you do? He goes, I'm a CPA. So I marched back down the street and announced to my parents, I'm going to be a CPA. Fast forward 10 years, I'm a CPA. By the way, I went to the local college in my town. I grew up in Ottawa, Canada, Carleton University. I'm sure you've heard of it. No, you have never heard of it. It's a very small. And I lived at home, and I drove to school, and I paid my own tuition. And that's how I got through school. And I got a Bachelor of Commerce, and I got an offer from all, back then it was the Big 8, now it's the Big 4 CPA firms. And I became a CPA. And now I'm making pretty good money, right? I'm a young CPA, newly married. And about a year in, a great friend of mine comes up from Toronto, and we go for lunch, and he looks at me and he goes, you don't look very happy. I said, I'm not very happy. I hate this accounting stuff. By the way, if you're CPA, don't, like, accounting is good. It's a great background, but I didn't like what I was doing. So he goes, well, why don't you come and sell real estate investments with me? He called it Intelivest. So I was making $33,000 a year as a CPA. And by the way, first inflection point, right? I had a plan, 10-year plan, become a CPA. I was a CPA. I hated it. Okay, time to evaluate and adjust, do something different. So he said, do you want to sell real estate investments with me? I said, I hate this, I'll try that. And I started selling real estate investments. And just to give you a little humor, I was 24 years old, 25 years old, and I looked very young. So I put on, I still don't wear glasses, I'm 58 now. And I put on glasses and I made my hair all look so I was old because I was trying to sell investments to these older people my age now probably. Anyways, I made 25 years old, I'm telling you this because this is how your world can change, $330,000 in my first year of selling real estate investments, or $33,000 being a CPA. Good decision, right? Well, so then, oh, by the way, I missed the picture. My first business was in college. That's my partner, still the president of our company, Craig Vaughn. In the middle guy is Rob Donnelly, he's my brother. He's our chief operating officer. And of course, that's me, the young guy on the left. And we opened a pizza store when we were still in college. And I forgot that kind of in that success cycle, but fast forward, by the way, the same three people still own Casa Group. So that's when it started. But anyways, back to my story. So I thought, well, why don't we go do what these guys were selling for? And then we don't need to just earn the commission, we'll earn all the money. Remember, 13 years old, wanted to be rich. So off we go, and at 27 years old, we started our own company called Intelivest, and we started selling these real estate investments. And initially they were in Canada, and we made huge amounts of money before we were 30 years old. And just to give you in perspective, I don't tell you this to brag, I'm setting up the big failure that's to follow. 27 years old, married, one kid, living in a 10,000 square foot mansion, driving around in a Porsche 928, which they don't even make those anymore, so you guys don't know what that is. But at the time, that was a very cool Porsche. And I just thought life was going to go straight line like this. So that was what happened, and then all of a sudden they changed the tax laws, and these real estate investments we were selling no longer were, like, you couldn't do that anymore. They changed the law. So we said, what are we going to do? We're selling all these investments, we need product. We heard Florida real estate was cheap, 1988. We flew to Florida and bought an apartment building. We didn't have enough money to close, but we put enough money to put a deposit down. High risk, right? You're a kid, you take lots of risk. And we converted it to condominium, and we sold them to Canadians. And we continued to do this till 1994, and about 2,000 of these units, again, making lots of money. What do you do with lots of money when you don't know what you're doing in investing? Well, we bought land, we bought shopping centers, we built shopping centers. Long story short, I lost it all because the market crashed. Now, you guys, this is a real estate program. Lesson number one, success cycle. Lesson number two, guess what real estate has done all through the history of time? Up and down, up and down. If you're really, really smart, buy at the bottom, sell at top, go golf. That's not what all the real estate developers do. They buy at the bottom, They don't sell at the top because this is what they do. They stay in the business, and guess what?
It crashes.
It crashes. So that's what happened to me. I'm telling you that I know this now because I experienced it. Anyways, we lost all our money. And, but in 1992, all these Canadian investors said, would you start a management company and manage the condos and apartments for us? When you're a young entrepreneur, there's only one answer to new opportunity: yes. So we started a company. It's actually called Intellivest Management. And basically, it's all we had, right? We lost everything else. And so I started being a property manager in 1992. And then I thought, again, I always thought big. I said, I just read Wayne Huizinga's book. We're standing in his building today. What did Wayne Huizinga do? Wayne got into the waste management business. You probably know this. But what you may not know is he made all of his money in one part of the business. He did not make one penny picking up garbage. None of those garbage trucks made any money. He made all his money on dumpsters that he dropped off at construction sites and commercial plazas. And he basically rented these crates of metal for huge amounts of money. That's how waste management made all his money. You may not know that that's why when he did Blockbuster, you guys, we didn't even have videotapes. This isn't your era, but back in those days, we had videotapes, and that's what everyone know what Blockbuster is, by the way?
Yeah.
We're
We're not saying no.
We're on the edge of it, but we have it.
You have it? All right.
All right.
All right.
We're in the end of that generation.
Okay.
Like borderline. I
Well-
would not agree with you.
All Wayne Huizinga said was, if I can rent metal boxes and rent them out in dumpsters, right? Why can't I take cassettes, buy them for $100 and rent them out, 20 times at $10 and double my money? That's all Blockbuster was to him, renting out. It was the exact same business model as waste management. But in both cases, he consolidated. He went and bought all the video stores up in the country, just like he bought all the waste management up. He put it all together, took it public, made billions of dollars. So I thought, I just finished reading his book. I thought, I'm going to do what Wayne Huizinga did. I'm going to go buy up all these management companies, put them together, take it public, sell it, and be rich again. It didn't work. I didn't know how to run management companies, and so we went and bought all these things, and it was a disaster. So this is, I'm telling you, all failed. Like, this is just like real estate goes like this. My career went like this. So we lost all our money again, and now it's getting a little tiring because now I'm like 30 something, and I've got 3 boys, and I need some steady income. So finally we said, scrap all of that. This property management business, you don't make a huge amount of money on each transaction, but every month they pay you a management fee. And we can talk a bit about how that works, but very steady. And if you ever consider getting into business, and I think some of you in the room already have, you got to think about what that business model looks like. If you're selling big homes, you can sell a big home, make a lot of money, and not sell another one for 2 years. It's possible. What Huizinga said is, I want recurring revenue. Every month I want a check, whether I'm renting cassettes or dumpsters. And that really struck me. So property management, you get a management fee as revenue every month. Our first account that we got through acquisition, since 1981, we still manage that account. Every month for almost 40 years, they have written us a check. One sale 40 years ago. Think about that versus other businesses. So we got into the property management business. In 1995, we relabeled it the Castle Group. By 1999, we screwed up all the acquisitions and we said we're just going to manage property. And from 1999 to today, all we did was add one account at a time. And now we're the largest private property management company in the state. We just opened in Texas. We have 1,700 teammates, and it's been really, now finally we're successful. But it does take a lot of failure to be successful. And you guys, I don't care how smart you are, how hard at work you are, you're going to get your setbacks. That's just life. But that success cycle, just reevaluate, adjust your plan, and redo it. So what has that allowed us to do? Well, now I am so fortunate. My wife runs our philanthropic arms. It's called Castle Cares, and we give back to the community. We put money into this program. We led a homelessness initiative. I don't know whether you saw or heard about the tent city downtown Fort Lauderdale. I chaired with Mike Jackson of AutoNation the business effort to eliminate that, and if you go down there now, there's no more tent city. And it's also allowed me to do angel investing. And who knows what angel investing is here? Basically, you take money and you put it behind a young entrepreneur. They don't have to be young, but they tend to be. And because they have a great idea, but they have no money. And so you give them money, and the probability of you getting anything back is very low because high risk. And you do a bunch of them, and you hope one pays off big, right? You hope it's Facebook or Google or some of these. By the way, none of mine have been. But so that's what I do. I run a Casa Group. We give back to the community. We're doing this program, and I have 5 angel investments. And in all seriousness, none of them have gone bad yet, and none of them have hit the big one yet. So, but it's a lot of fun. I sit on the boards. I get to learn and stay current on all of this stuff. So that was my experience, and really the takeaway for you is that success cycle. Don't ever forget it. There's nothing you need to listen beyond that point in your career. And 2, I stand before you very fortunate and healthy and wealthy and successful, but it wasn't a straight line. It was a very, very circuitous. By the way, I married my childhood sweetheart. We've been together 42 years since we were 16. I can imagine my poor wife, mansion, trailer, mansion. Anyway, so that makes a fun journey, and I have 3 boys just to top it off, which are 30, 28, and 26. None of them in the business, by the way. Okay, my journey, property management. I want to talk a little bit about property management. I put up a castle here for 2 reasons. 1, we're the Castle Group, but 2, that's how long property management existed. You think the king managed this thing? There's no way. He had a whole property management function. So it's been here forever. And it's everywhere. Like, who changes that trash can?
Shift 2, night shift cleaning crew 2.
And is that employed by Nova? That shift?
I think so, yeah.
Could be a contract, by the way. But that's property management. And you walk by and you throw your stuff in there and you don't think, oh, where's the property manager? You know, who cleans the room? Who organizes this? Who pays all the bills at MSU? I hope they pay all the bills.
We do.
Well, you do, yeah. Very good point. Very good point. But there's a big accounting function, right? And then you guys are doing a lot of expansion, a lot of planning, and I know some of you are probably more interested in real estate development. There's a lot of development going on right on campus. But everywhere you look, it doesn't matter where you go. If you're in a building, there's a property management function. By the way, that's good for job security, right? It's not going anywhere. You could really specialize. We are residential community managers. We manage condos, HOAs, apartments. But, I mean, there is just so many different specialties. I believe I'd rather be great at a narrow thing than be okay at a broad number of things. The other thing is, think about how many industries are getting exported out of this country. I know Trump says they're all going to come back, but it's probably not true, right? So how do you move the management of this building, the emptying of that trash outside of this country? It stays here. So it's really, this is an industry that's going to be here forever. Our population's going up, it's not coming down. So you can't export what we're doing, and I love recurring revenue. Wayne Heisinger taught me that. And think about that. And I'm not saying there aren't. By the way, the people that are building all the buildings you're seeing going up all over, they build them, they sell them. In a hot market, they make way more money than a property manager does. But when the market crashes and they put all that money in and they lose way more money than property management. So I'm kind of a low risk guy. That's why I like recurring revenue. But the importance to you is, if you're looking for an employer, are you going into cyclical business where you may have a job, you may not? Or if you're going into business, are you prepared? Does your personality match up with the risks of up or down, or would you prefer a steady eddy? So the revenue model, think about that no matter what industry you're going to go into. You know, biotech, I think I have some biologists in the room. Biotech is a hit and miss business. And by the way, there's always going to be a future for it, but I wouldn't have the stomach for the ups and downs of that.
Let me interject the question here. This is a typical example. We develop a condo building 5 years, 10 years out, the cash flow model, etc. and they hope you probably hit it with an institutional investor, maybe a life insurance, because they want to have that recurring revenue. How many times did it happen to you, particularly say in the Fort Lauderdale market, that someone you did property management for sold their building, but the buyers actually kept you as the managers, property managers, as in we continue your contract? Is that a common thing, or is that an exotic example?
That's a good question. First of all, a couple of things out of that, Thomas. Number one, you probably learned from your other course, interest rates are really, really low right now. Like insurance companies are lending money to real estate, stabilized real estate. They don't lend to developers at low rates because they don't know whether to be successful. But once that thing's built and the tenants are in, they'll lend at sub 4%. That's historically low. I mean, when I first bought my first house in 1980, some 13% was my mortgage. Well, that sounds ridiculous, right? But that's what it was. So the historic low. The second question, the real question was, if I manage a building and the building gets sold, do I keep the contractor or do I lose the management contract? The answer is half the time we keep it and half the time we lose it.
Well,
And if the buyer comes in with their own relationship, we tend to lose it. If it's like an out-of-state buyer and they don't have a Florida manager, then we get to keep it. So half and half. Even though recurring revenue is a great model, we do lose 5% of our business a year, right? I could list you all the reasons, but it's not 100% recurring, it's 95% recurring, and then you just try and sell more than that 5%. That's how we grow. Okay, any other questions? So, I think you've covered this, so I won't belabor it, but it's shocking how many different kinds of property management there are, and I'm going to talk in a minute how many different jobs there are in all of those different things. So, my son, by the way, middle son, he went to the Oceanographic Center, got his master's in marine biology, and just got a job with the European Union on climate change. So he moved to Belgium because of NSU. So that's very cool. But that's why I put that in, not the main campus, because my son went there. Are there any biology students in the room? Yeah, my son Chase Donnelly taught biology last spring here, Biology 101, I guess. Okay, you may have had it. Okay, any questions on the types? Did you know, there was an article in this morning, I say the newspaper, wasn't on the screen, but Brookfield Properties, huge Canadian real estate ownership group, Brookfield Properties. They have purchased 162 retail type properties across North America. And it's because retail's dead, right? Amazon's killing retail. But if you're looking at asset classes, retail is, we owned a shopping plaza up until 2 years ago. Thank God I got out of it because it's dead. So Brookfield's going, well, it may be dead, but the real estate is fantastic. It's in a great location. So they bought all these retail locations because what's happening is it's becoming mixed use. They're going to put in apartments and office and keep a little retail, and you'll see this going on all over. I'll talk about it in trends, but there's all your types. Thomas, you've covered this, haven't you?
We covered the left side. I touched not the institutionals explicitly, but we do actually types in detail second half of the class.
Okay. One of the things we talked about, I keep pointing at the garbage can, but that's housekeeping or maintenance. Property management, some functions are self-performed by the management company or the institution, and some are contracted. So I don't happen to know whether your housekeeping in this is contracted or they're NSU employees, but security tends to always be contracted because you need a separate license. A lot of risk, you need different insurance. So I could go through each of those, I won't right now, but there's a reason why assets are managed, some self-performed, some third-party. What we do is we manage really cool buildings and communities all over the state, and I'm not sure why we put in there other than I think those are pretty cool, but all residential. So roles, this is where I think, like I got 25 people in the room, your personalities are different, you all have different interests. There are so many different things you can do. You could be an engineer. We just hired a engineer in our company, and I mean, I don't, he has, if he doesn't have a $200,000 salary, it's probably pretty close to that. So if you can be in the physical plant business and be in property management and make a huge amount of money, finance, obviously, there are unbelievable careers in asset management where you're basically working for an insurance company or someone and you're overseeing property managers like me. You may be also in charge of the finance and whatnot. Investment, one of the great things what that's happened to us is we've been able to invest in real estate. As we saw all the flow of real estate go through us, we said, oh, we like that, and we invested in it. There's all kinds of feasibility. People are, especially young MBA types, are getting hired by these asset managers to say, go find us property that makes sense. Is it feasible? Hospitality is huge in our business. I mean, this is all about service. Marketing, tech, procurement, resiliency. I just wanted to emphasize with this slide, you could do so many different things in this world, and I laugh. How many parents have gone to you and said, well, I want you to be a doctor, or a lawyer, or accountant, or whatever. Never has a parent ever gone to their kid and say, I really want you to be a property manager, because they don't even know about it. But I mean, if they were sitting in this classroom, they go, holy crap, maybe you guys should be looking into property management. There you go. Okay. I gave a lecture, you can look it up online if you want. I gave a lecture here about 4 years ago called Life Shaping. And I was in the process of writing a book because I was amazed, how did this guy from Bell's Corners, Canada, live this life? And I looked back, I reflected, and I said, I need to write what I did so other people can share it. And the first chapter is it's not your fault. Think about this. Who you are, your brain, your thinking, and everything is, we can argue about the percentages, 50% genetic, right? Your parents gave you that, whether that's good or bad is up for discussion, and 50% is learned. Is it really learned? Did you choose where you were going to live? Did you choose your parents? Did you choose your first teacher? Did you choose what school you went to? Did you even choose the first sport they put you in? Did you choose your neighbor, your cousin, your aunt, your uncle, your grandparents? You didn't choose any of that. So I would argue to you, you had very little input in the wiring that goes on in your brain. And the wiring has happened from the time they slapped your butt and you cried to the time you put your hand on the stove and you went like this, hot. The wiring said, don't put hand on stove. That happened over and over and over and over. And by 16 years old, which you guys are all more than, your brain is wired. So my argument in chapter 1 is, it's not your fault about who you are. They've done incredible research in the last 30 years about the malleability of the brain. You've heard about soldiers that lose limbs in the wars and they still think they're there. It's because the wiring hasn't adjusted yet. But so they've studied this, and eventually you can. So you can actually change the wiring of your brain way beyond today's discussion. The third chapter is, well, who do I want to be in life, right? Like, you should literally, if you haven't done this already, you should be sitting down and journaling what you think this thing looks like, this thing like. By the way, you only get one shot at it. And at 58 years old, you're starting to go, like I'm looking at the shorter end, and you guys looking at the longer end. So, but what the purpose of life, and then you say, where am I today? And then you come up, the rest of the book is how to get from A to B, right? But this is the image I put on the front of it because this is what you're doing to your life. This is how you're going to shape your life. But you do have some natural wiring. There's some people in this room that are extroverts. There's people in this room that are introverts. There's people that love sports. There's people that love reading. Well, all I have to say about this is all those roles that we had here take different personality types. If you're an introvert, do you think hospitality is a good idea? Probably not. How about finance? So my only point I wanted to make, I don't want to go through the life-shaping discussion, is you know who you are. And if you want to maximize your success, all I would suggest is really do a good self-awareness before I select. And the better you can match your natural personality to your role, the higher probability of your success. Does that make sense? Question?
Yeah, so I know at the beginning you mentioned like there's 80 positions that you're like struggling to fill within your firm.
Yeah.
Do you ever foresee people, like the market really catching on to property management and people really being passionate about it to where it's like overly competitive and like a saturated position? Or
Probably not. It's not a very sexy business. But I will tell you this, right now, unemployment in the country is 3.3%, right? That is called a war for talent. In 2008, I had 80 people lined up trying to get into business, and in 2019 I have 80 people I wish were lining up, so cyclical. And so I don't know that our industry will end up into that kind of competitive thing like Wall Street type jobs and whatnot. But I will tell you that the difference between our business and others is if you do get a job, you're not going to lose it.
On that note, meet Andrew. He's really interested in hospitals and hospitality work. Hospitality work.
Yeah, hospitality and hotels.
And hotels.
The extrovert. Nice to meet you, Andrew. Okay, so choose wisely. Let's talk about some trends. You know what kills me about all the prognosticators on TV is, every day, 24/7, they're talking and analyzing and this and that. And it's actually very distracting from long-term trends. Let's talk about demographics. All of a sudden, old people housing is important. No kidding, the baby boomers got old like this. We could have predicted this when the baby boomers were born. And the millennials, they're kind of a unique group, and I'm not throwing you guys in because you're a little younger, but you probably have your own special aspects. But we are aging, and that is creating a complete new asset class. How much, I'm going to be 60 soon, do I want to live in an old age home? No, but I don't also want to live in an area with kids because I have my kids, right? So they're creating all new, in Florida, the only housing discrimination you can do is between 55 and up, or not, adult communities. So we manage a bunch of adult communities, and they're unbelievable. They have programming and social and Monja and cards. I mean, Paul's laughing.
They have a lot of those.
They have a
Men's
lot.
club, women's club. golf
Yeah,
club.
that's right. That's a huge trend. So that's changing the type of real estate being built. The millennials like urban. Not a whole bunch of millennials out in rural America. So that's pushing everything into urban environments, which means they're literally having to build different types of real estate downtown. Downtown Fort Lauderdale, I live in the top of the Los Olas River House, and I look out and there's a gazillion cranes. It's on fire, it's unbelievable. There's 15 cranes, that may not be perfect. One condo, 14 rental apartments. Do you think you should be in rental management or condo management in downtown Fort Lauderdale? You want to be in rental management. We happen to be in both, but I got into the rental management business because I said 14 to 15 cranes are rental, duh. I'm not that smart, but I can figure out that trend. And the millennials are not buying homes. So the rental thing is going crazy. But again, it's kind of duh. Urban, a lot of repurposing going on right now. They're taking down, I talked about the retail plazas and whatnot. And people are, the whole WeWork thing is taking over, so there's a lot less office space being demanded. The first office building in 10 years is going up in Fort Lauderdale because they're all working from home, working remotely.
And it's Styles Tower.
And what?
It's the main on Las Olas.
The main, that's right.
Which is Styles School.
Styles, yeah, Terry Styles. Terry Styles' idea being, of course, he passed away, and it's being executed by his son and his team. Has anyone heard of the Los Olas X? I mean, you guys probably know in the apartment. There's a building going up downtown on the river, Los Olas X. It's basically shared living, so huge common elements. Like up in the 30-something floor, there's these open, it's not occupied yet, it's still under construction, but I can see it from my window. And they're gonna have these gardens and outdoor areas outside, huge gyms, huge common cooking areas. It's all for younger people. You don't even have to rent an apartment, you can rent a room. And they work it all out. It's not our specialty, but that asset, if it hadn't been built 20 years ago, everyone would have laughed, it would have been a complete failure. So it's really, really changed things. So the trends, if you can figure out trends in the real estate business, whether it's development, ownership, or management, that is a huge thing. But I did want to talk a bit about technology. It has literally changed everything. You guys all know what Nest is, right? The electronic thermostat. And basically, you can control. I have a home in Canada. I could show you right now. I could bring it over. I have an app. I can tell you, I have cameras all over the house. My house is being painted right now, so I'm watching the painters, seeing if they're working. I can adjust the lights, the temperature. I can do anything I want from my from my phone. So that's really changing things. And apps, I'll get to it there in a minute. So much so that we started a software company 6 years ago to create software for buildings. And now, of course, we use it, it's called REE systems. We use it, but we now license it, so we're now in the software business. But what an opportunity, sensors. You can, like the main, when they build it, it's going to have sensors everywhere. Every piece of equipment, every room. There will be one property manager sitting at a screen, and they will control door access, temperature. Can you imagine the energy efficiency if you only put a room at a temperature it needs to be if it was occupied or not? By the way, this, I mean, I don't know, if you're into tech, there's huge opportunities in tech in this space. And then of course green, like everyone is becoming so, and thank God, becoming so environmentally sensitive. So any green initiatives are big. I put value add in there. Well, I'll tell you why. You'll have to look this website up afterwards, but lively.io. It is an operating system for physical spaces. So let's say you want to rent an apartment. You don't fill out any paper app. They say download Lively, start your application. It'll get to, do you have rental insurance? No, or yes. If it hits no, it automatically puts you into a place where you can buy rental insurance. Surprise, surprise. Guess who from? Them. And then once you move in, and there's no paper, you all DocuSign everything, you guys probably do that now. And then let's say you're in your unit and you want to get furniture, you just go online and the furniture arrives. You want your unit cleaned, you want a dog walker, anything you want, you just do it through this app. And in larger buildings, they have a complete infrastructure. You run out of toilet paper, you go click, and all of a sudden this guy's at your door with toilet paper. It changes the way you would live.
Well, what do you think of the house?
What's that?
You basically take all the reasons to not go outside of the house.
Well, that's true. I mean, there's going to be some real
fresh air.
behavioral implications. But the reason I put this on the value, let's say you own an apartment building, it makes 100 grand a year. I'm just making a number, and that represents a 5% return. This is going to increase the profit to the owner of the building between 10 and 20%. Well, you guys haven't studied cap rates yet, returns?
Yep.
So I got a 5% cap on 100 grand, means that my building's worth $2 million. I add 20% by just simply putting an app. It's got nothing physical, it's just technology. 20% of $2 million, I just made 400 grand just by applying tech to my existing asset.
With toilet paper.
For toilet paper. That's right. This is, I mean, you can tell I'm excited because this is the space I'm in, but, and by the way, you're going to be renting apartments, and they're not too different, and you're going to have this app on your phone.
For 55 and up communities, I think that'll be a great app where the ones who may not have access to leave their homes, that's a great way just to get big extended.
That is, they can use their phones.
Or
They'll learn.
the
A lot of them have
mobility.
laptops where I was working.
Because I remember when I was in grad school, Cincinnati, went to TAP in Cincinnati, and close to Cincinnati, IKEA opened. First IKEA in that area. We actually rented a U-Haul to go to IKEA to get our own furniture. Yeah? So if you deliver this now for your communities where people do not go through the effort, extra mobility, extra access to transportation, boom, another 10%.
Well, I mean, I heard someone say if they know how to run their phones, right?
Yeah.
You'd be surprised, and by the way, I've seen this happen in my 25 years of property management. You know, initially all these 55 plus communities, like they're so like they don't even know what a computer is. But you'd be surprised, you know, the new 55 to 70, they got this going. They got the same apps we have. I mean, not the same apps, but the same technological ability. They have all day to figure it out. Okay, what do we got left here? So I think I'm just gonna flip through here, come back. So in conclusion, we'll go to some Q&A. It's a great opportunity. I don't know whether this, this interests you. If it doesn't interest you, then just give your credit and be happy. But if it does, like I can't exaggerate the breadth of opportunity. It's not just being a property manager, you could be anything. The video, there was a nice looking young blonde lady in the video at the beginning. Her name's Chloe, she came to us right out of college. And she started, I think, in our call center answering the phones. And that was 5 years later. She's running one of our A-plus properties, probably making a, $80,000 or $90,000 a year, 5 years out of college. So, and she'll just keep going. So there are a lot of great opportunities, and it's always going to be here. And as I said in the beginning, you need to know about property management, even if it's just for your property. I just put a couple of pictures in here. You may recognize these. Paul.
Yeah.
This is our office.
Newly renovated.
Newly renovated, and we put in phone booths and massage chairs and little impromptu work areas. We literally tried to build an office that would attract you guys when you come out of college, because admittedly, 2 years ago, before we started, it was kind of stodgy, and if you came in, you go, oh, this is a nice place to work. So we really had to make some changes to attract bright young people like you. If you ever want to learn more about this, or you want to do an internship, or you want to just come in and see what it's like, just come. You can arrange it through your professor. But we have internships, and we did you have a good time?
I had a great time.
Yeah.
Boy.
So that's it. Questions?
I have a few to initiate. Go ahead.
If you were going to do it over again, would you still go into residential, or would you go into institutional, commercial? What would you be, if you could do it over again, knowing what you know now, which would do you think you'd go into?
Good question. Would I do this again? Here's the thing about residential. As long as there's human beings, they got to live somewhere. So it's probably the best space to be in. Not necessarily the most profitable, but if you want security, yes. Let's say you specialized in retail management. You would be very unhappy right now. By the way, the asset class that's going off the charts is the logistics, the warehousing. I mean, it's just, I have a buddy who's made himself, I think, at least $100 million in the last 5 years just building this stuff for all the logistics companies. It's simple construction, right near highways, doesn't even need to be near a city, and so that's a great asset class. But I absolutely would do residential again, because people are always going to have to live somewhere. We have made the adjustment to go into rental when we saw the rental trend coming, so we're really excited about that. But yeah, I would do residential.
And another question, I know you just moved into Texas and over there, how's the expansion in Texas going?
It's tough. So we have a brand, like you guys talk about branding. The Castle Group brand, even though you guys may not know about it, in the residential world in Florida, we get invited to every bid because we've been around, we've done a good job. The Castle brand opens almost every door for us. Texas, they say Castle who, right? We have no brand there. We have no runway. So we hired an M&A firm, and we're doing an acquisition there. And that's how we're going to accelerate that. We're already there. We're already managing some accounts, but it's too slow for my liking.
Yeah.
So we're going to do an acquisition.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
What can we expect if we do an internship with you guys?
I could let you know, man.
Okay.
It was nice. I was up in Boynton Beach over Valencia Isles. I went in during a time of a major reconstruction project on our clubhouse. So my day-to-day looked primarily as we hired a project manager specifically to close out our final few steps of the construction project. So I was helping him do final punch lists for the building, going through, doing walkthroughs, making sure everything's up to par of what we've expected, what we've paid for. And also there's times where I'm dealing with residents where they can come in maybe a little hot and bothered about something that's going on or an inconvenience because of the construction that's going on. So it's our job to do to settle them down, make sure they feel valued, appreciated, help them understand what's actually going on, and maybe give them next steps, what they should be taking to either get their solution or at least find a way around the inconvenience.
and when you first started your program, you came into home office, you got an orientation, you got a tour of the office.
Yeah.
I think I got to talk to you guys that day.
Yeah, and then we did your training for the Castle Cares, right? The way you act with the individual patient.
Royal Service.
Royal Service, yeah. So we did the Royal Service training.
So we put them through a lot of the same training. What Paul's describing is he chose to be in the property management side and was put out on a property fairly quickly. We had some other people in accounting, other people in marketing. So it depends what you're interested in. What we've told the school is that we'll basically take anyone that's coming out of this program because we want to support it, and we'll find you an internship job that fits what your interests are. But it's 8 weeks in the summer?
Yes, it was in 8 weeks, yeah.
8 weeks in the summer, and we've offered the school to do them year round. So even if you want to do your internship, in fact, the property management minor, you have to do an internship. You don't have to do it with Castle, by the way. I'm trying to get my competitors to support this program more, but
Oh, I cover all of them.
yeah.
I coordinate the property management internships.
Yeah, okay.
With the real estate.
Yeah, yeah.
So whoever in this room is going through an internship will come with me and do paperwork and reflection,
Yeah.
write papers and all that.
Perfect.
And we have Castle Group mostly in the summertime, but we have year round, we have 1 or 2 other companies. And that's also where the students are located. I have a few out of state companies, particularly because a student that moves back to Brooklyn interested in property management, I don't hold them tied to Florida markets. As you mentioned, you're in the Texas market right now.
Yeah.
Which brings to my question, why Castle, Texas? Why that location? Anywhere in Texas, but why that?
So, what you may not know is that the concept of managed residential real estate is relatively modern. Like it used to be, developers would build tracts of homes, and you would buy your home, and there'd be no rules about living there. You could pave your driveway up, you could plant potatoes in your front lawn, you could have your boat, you can do whatever you want. But the developers were trying to sell more homes, and they wanted them to be more beautiful communities, so they put rules, and they created these homeowner associations, these condos, and these apartments. And you had to comply by the rules. So if you go into a managed community now, the grass is perfect, the buildings are clean, I mean, it really is nice. But if you go, like, Florida was created from north to south, right? Jacksonville, St. Augustine were the first cities. Well, we tried to get into the Jacksonville market, and we managed, deeded communities with restrictions and apartments. There weren't too many there because it was so old, it was built before the concept. So all managed residential property has happened in the last 50 years. So you want to go into the newest real estate in the country. Well, where is everybody moving to? What's the fastest growing state in the country? Texas. And so we went to Texas. Our company, we grew it to $100 million in revenue in Florida. And we said, well, Texas is bigger than Florida and younger than Florida and growing faster than Florida. We think we can double the size of our company in one state. By the way, every state has different regulations, different rules, different economics. So you'd rather do it in one state than 6 or 7 states. It's way easier. So we chose Texas. When we finished our research, Tom, it was, which one did you think we were going to go to? California is a nightmare. I mean, it's just, don't ever go to California. I mean, the rules and regulations about anything are ridiculous. So that was an easy one. But the answer to your question is, we'd like to double the size of our company. Which state could we do it in? And Texas is the one.
So my question was also about Texas. What were the opportunities you plan to have at that location?
So we're going to duplicate what we're doing. We chose Dallas first just because it seemed like the most progressive. I like Dallas, great airport, direct flights from Fort Lauderdale. I mean, we did a lot of things, but we love Austin, we love San Antonio. We think we're going to have to be in Houston. We're not yet, but Dallas is where we're going to start. Yeah.
Do you believe that there will be future internship opportunities, whether for the Florida location or for Texas, for like advertising and marketing?
I think we have we had 2 marketing positions this summer. And by the way, I can't tell you how many of my interns now work for our company. It's unbelievable. I'm saying that because we had 2 marketing interns this summer, and they're both working for us now, one full-time because they graduated, and one part-time because we liked her so much. Even though she's still going to school, she's still working there. So I expect we'll always have 2 marketing internships.
My question is what about international students? Like you guys give opportunity to international students because after you graduate, like in my example, I'm an international student, I didn't do the internship in Costco Group because they said I mean, you need social or perm.
You need the ability to work in the country.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, that's a problem, because you have to be.
For an internship, not, because it's an internship class, it's valid work for credit. Therefore, the university, and again, I'm not a legal advisor, technically I'm not allowed to give you that information legally, but based on my own experiences, there's a concept that's called Curricular Practical Training, CPT. And if everything in paperwork is in place and you actually have a company offering you an internship or a workplace, you can actually get a time-limited curriculum expanding training with the university, not necessarily a sponsor, but kind of a mentor. So I have a few students internationally.
For pay?
For pay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And all of ours are obviously paid into.
Yeah. So even direct pay. Of course, you need to have a social security number, but that's part of the International Students Office. But the direct, usually paperwork is done through the university, payment is done directly to the student. I've done this in the master's program, I've done this in the undergraduate programs.
But you applied to Castle and we said no because you're international?
No, I didn't apply.
Oh.
I didn't apply because when I was filling up the form, it says, are you legal to work in the United States? So I thought, okay, no, I can't.
Well,
yeah, that's a misconcept for international students sometimes.
I mean, I did an internship in another place.
Yeah. Well, the truth of the matter is, I don't run internships at Castle, I have no idea. But if that sounds reasonable, I mean, if we can, maybe we'll learn from what you can
Same
tell.
thing for those that graduate with a bachelor's in this class. If you're international, has maybe changed, will change depending on the administration. There is also the concept that is called OPT, optional practical training. When I did my OPT, it gives you a 1-year work permit in that specific field of studies. So I was kidding all the time. I would be able, as an urban planner back then, would have been able to locate locations for new McDonald's shops, but I would not have been allowed to flip burgers for McDonald's because I did not go to food school, I did go to planning school. So if you have interest in that, we can talk about that. I can facilitate contacts. That should not be a struggle, should be an should be an opportunity for your career.
So, I don't know about that, but if it's legal, we'll do it. You remind me, Thomas, I think you did a lot of GIS work, didn't you?
Yeah, I got 2 degrees fully funded with it.
So I got that right. This GIS, overlaying data onto real estate is the most amazing thing you can do. I mean, have you talked about it in class at all?
Did we talk? We did talk about demographics and trends, a little bit census data. We explored the census webpage, which is way more now visualization than pure tables. I kind of spared them with the GIS geek in this class setup. If you want to know something, we can talk about it.
It's beyond the scope of today, but we're finding using data to determine where things are going to happen, and it's unbelievable, transportation and whatnot. Anyway, back to this. Any other questions? Yeah.
What kind of legal positions do you have in your company?
We have no legal positions.
Is it all outside through different firms?
Yeah.
That's right.
Are you a law student?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the problem for in-house law is we have so many different needs, right? We need a human resource lawyer, we need general counsel, we need contract lawyer, and so we can't afford 3 lawyers, so we just contracted it.
So like you mentioned a little bit about like competition too. What's the competition like, and are there like management groups that manage residential, hospitality, like different fields too, that also kind of, make the competition more?
First of all, it's very competitive. Like, there's 2 huge public companies in our space, and they're really good and they're very competitive. It's not too hard to sell against them. We say, look, if you want the big guy and you just want to be a number, hire them. If you want, I'll still go at this point in my career, I'll still go and pitch a new account, and to have the owner come and do that, that's an advantage. There are so many ways to splice up what we do. You guys have heard of timeshare. Blue Green is a big local company. You probably get some good internships there. It's the timeshare space. The whole hospitality, like Ritz Ritz has, if you go to some properties, Ritz-Carlton, you know what I'm talking about, the nice hotels, often you'll see two towers. One tower is hotel, the other tower is condo. And why would I buy a condo in a Ritz-Carlton? Because I get all of the services of the hotel, but it's my house. So that's a big trend. Obviously the apartments, I mean, now you've got really young people's apartments and really old people's apartments. It's getting sliced and diced. And I think there's going to be a lot of property management companies that just get really more narrow view. But I'd be happy to give my thoughts on it. It sounds like you want to go into hospitality. You know, my advice on hospitality is there are 2 or 3 firms in this world that are unbelievable training grounds. I used to go there. Like Marriott's got one of the best programs. We have Royal Service, everything at Castles. I'll play off the Castle group, so I'm the king. No. So Royal Service is our customer service program. I literally went to the Ritz-Carlton school. They sell their intellectual property in Washington, and I went to their school and I learned it. And not like I was stealing secrets. I paid a lot of money to go learn those secrets, and we based our whole hospitality customer service based on Ritz-Carlton. So that's a great place to start.
You asked me to write down a few questions if they are not perfectly engaged. I have a really nice question on this. What was your worst customer experience that turned into new opportunities? The worst customer experience, and you as a service provider actually turned that into an absolutely great new opportunity. It's a little bit abstract, but we learn from our mistakes.
Yeah. So I have, in the property management space is how I'll answer that. So there was a really, really high-end developer called WCI Communities. I say there was because they got bought by Lennar about 3 years ago. And we used to manage the WCI community, and we completely screwed it up. I mean, we don't do that very often, but we really did a bad job and got fired. And about a year later, we get this invitation to bid on all of the WCI communities in the state. And we're like, I'm certain to this day it was we were accidentally put on there. We went though and pitched it against the 2 big public companies, and we really did a good job on our presentation. And by the way, so we won the whole state. So from one fire, we won all 27 properties. And several of them were in Southwest Florida. I didn't have an office in Southwest Florida, but in my presentation, I promised them if we win, we will open an office in the same building that you are. And we did. We opened a building in the same office as WCI Communities. So it's a good point, though. Every adversity, right? There's something going to come out of that. It's kind of like my success cycle idea. I know I'm beating a dead horse here, but don't ever get discouraged. You just adjust the strategy, re-implement, and if you keep doing it, you will succeed. It's guaranteed. Any other questions? Sir?
Have you ever had a time that cycle hasn't worked for you?
Never. Never. I mean, it didn't mean that the next cycle it was successful, right? But I just kept doing it. I never, like my wife will tell you, I never got discouraged. When I say we lost all our money, I mean, we had to sell our house kind of money. I never went bankrupt, but pretty close. And that's really discouraging. And impact on your kids and your family. But just kept going. And even today, like, we didn't have internships. We didn't have a beautiful new office. Like, so we just keep improving and improving and improving. And by the way, if we don't, our competition will. So the success cycle doesn't just mean if you have failure. Even if you're being successful, you need to reevaluate and keep improving and improving, especially right now with technology. That Lively program, that's not ours. And I'm going, crap, we better either license that software or come up with something comparable.
We have time for 2 or 3 more.
Sir, one there and that back there.
I just kind of like that. What would you say is like your biggest career mistake?
Career mistake?
Yeah. Like something that you wish you could just go back and review and maybe be more successful.
It's a great question. I had a business partner early in my career. I have 2 partners now who are my brother and mine. Craig Vaughn is the president of the company. He and I went to kindergarten together 53 years ago. And of course my brother's 58, he's 56, so we can do that long. But they were doing their own thing for a while, and I got another business partner. And the business partner's ethic, their moral compass was different than mine. I didn't realize it at the time. And he took us down a path that almost got us in trouble. And you know, I'm lucky I recognized it in enough time, but you always have to do the right thing. And sometimes you won't even know you're doing the wrong thing, but as soon as you realize it, you've got to stop. And so the biggest mistake I made was associating myself with the wrong person. And luckily I ended that quickly enough, but guys, you know, you will be shaped by who you associate with. And if I'm here and you're there, and they think I'm bad, you're bad. If I think I'm good, so you really, really have to be careful about who you hang out with. I mean, that goes way beyond business, but to your point, I am so happy I recognized it in time to not get in trouble. One more.
And I was just going to ask, what would be the best way to get in touch with the council group about future opportunities with internships, etc.?
I think through Thomas. Yeah. Yeah.
And the webpage. They have a beautiful webpage for general inquiries.
Councilgroup.com, by the way, if anyone wants
and
to
career
know.
opportunities, and for the internship, there are cycles of internship applications. And you have to keep in mind that the internship class we provide is starting with the regular 16-week schedules. So, but we will work with you if you come in and say, hey, I have an internship that starts the 1st of March for 6 months. We will make sure that we get you into that internship class that will accompany you for that. There are solutions all over the place. And I don't bite. I have a sense of humor.
You guys, thank you. And if I can ever be of help, we're just down the corner, although it took me forever to get the traffic on University and 84. It's a mess. There's got to be a back way bound figured it out yet. So, good luck to all of you. Success cycle, don't forget it. Go on an internship, talk to this young man. And if I can ever be of help, jdonnelly@councilgroup.com, just email me and I'll see what I can do, or put you in connection with someone that can help you do it. It's often not me, so thank you. Yeah. Now you get to write a test.